What's up, everybody? I'm Jason Weisenberg.
And I'm Michael Weisenberg.
Welcome to Viseland. Thank you guys for stopping by. If you are seeing us, that means you're watching on YouTube. If you are not, you are listening, and that means you are on one of many platforms that you can find our podcast on. So thank you guys so much for coming in, checking us out every week. But yeah, crazy couple weekend. We had that Final Four, and of course we had the finals, that game that we were waiting for a very, very long time.
Yes, and it was rather anticlimactic, I would say.
Very disappointing game as far as like what we would have liked to have seen, but obviously it kind of continues this trend of undefeated teams not being undefeated once leaving that championship.
Continues the trend of defeated teams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just kind of sad. Like Baylor really didn't kind of had their way in the Final Four. Gonzaga went down to the wire with UCLA and probably the best game of the tournament, honestly, like as far as like excitement.
Yeah. Well, part of my prediction was right. I did predict they were both going to house their opponents. Baylor definitely did that with Houston. Houston like put up a little bit of a fight, but not much. And then UCLA was just hitting on all cylinders. Johnny Juzang continuing his hot shooting. Jaime Jaquez, Cody Riley, and Tiger Campbell all really stepping up and making some big shots. And Jalen Suggs just saving Gonzaga's bacon, really.
That was such a
plus Drew Timme played fantastic in that game against UCLA
with four fouls for an extreme amount of time.
Yeah.
UCLA was like sort of not doing their best job of like taking it, bringing that action to him. But like Mark Few did a couple offense, defense, subs to like pull him out. But
yeah, the other guy I really loved in that UCLA game, and I've actually just liked him for Gonzaga the past couple of years, is Joel Ayayi. And I thought he played a fantastic game. And I felt like Gonzaga matched up pretty well with Baylor. Baylor had, at least like some depth.
I think it was like a shining point for Baylor was really like how deep their team was.
Yeah. But then the other thing was, and I guess this was like slightly unexpected, though, Gonzaga didn't seem to have like the plethora of shooters that Baylor had. But they, like Corey Kispert had been so deadly throughout the year. He wasn't his usual self there.
Pretty quiet.
And then like even with Jalen Suggs getting into foul trouble, and then I feel like Jalen Suggs had like still a really great game.
I think it's like second half for him, like first half like a little turnovers, but I think that was Gonzaga as a whole. But like second half, he was pretty outstanding.
I thought he had quite a good game. But yeah, they really struggled to create. They didn't shoot as well as they could have. They didn't play great defense. That was the other thing, for sure. And Baylor was fantastic. Like I just thought, Jared Butler, obviously most outstanding player. Davion Mitchell, like they kind of set the tone by getting that early lead, making their first 5 3-pointers, and then ending up shooting like over 43.5%. Like Gonzaga was really what was saving Gonzaga in the first half was getting to the free throw line all the times that they did to only be down 10. And then Baylor just forced tons of turnovers. They out rebounded them. They were definitely the better team. And the best team.
Exceptionally well, and Baylor shot exceptionally well.
What were you saying?
Baylor shot exceptionally well, especially at the beginning, and that's what got that lead out. But yeah, it was tough. Tough for the Zags. I mean, they never really got within that single digit kind of.
No, it was Baylor. Every time Gonzaga looked like they were coming back, Baylor would hit some shots or get some stops. So yeah, it was definitely a great job by Scott Drew and the group there. But yeah, let's lead into, as we promised, picks 15 through 30 of our Viseland, I guess now post March Madness mock draft. But yeah, we're just doing a little update to what we think the NBA is thinking at this very moment. This isn't exactly like my big board or anything like that, and I'll point out some of the factors there. But we did 1 through 14 and did a simulation through Tankathon of the I guess lottery there, and we are doing 15 through 30. So just the rest of the teams, we had that order from the last time we did it. And let me just go over quickly. First off, if you want to find out more about the lottery prospects that I listed last week, definitely listen to last week's episode. But yeah, let's just go over quickly 1 through 14 of our first part of the mock draft. And we had number 1 pick, Cade Cunningham out of Oklahoma State to the Houston Rockets. Number 2, Evan Mobley out of USC to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Number 3, Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga to the Orlando Magic. Jalen Green, number 4, to the G League Ignite, out of the G League Ignite to the Toronto Raptors. Number 5, we had Jonathan Kuminga, G League Ignite, Golden State Warriors. Number 6, Keon Johnson, Tennessee, Detroit Pistons. Number 7, Franz Wagner, Michigan to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 8, Moses Moody, Arkansas to the Washington Wizards. Number 9, Scottie Barnes, Florida State to the Orlando Magic. Number 10, Jaden Springer, Tennessee to the New Orleans Pelicans. Number 11, Corey Kispert, Gonzaga to the Indiana Pacers. Number 12, Kai Jones out of Texas to the Sacramento Kings. Number 13, Ziaire Williams out of Stanford to the Golden State Warriors. And number 14, Jalen Johnson out of Duke to the Memphis Grizzlies. And that was our lottery. Now let's get into outside the lottery, where we will hit on some players I don't believe we have talked about in great detail before.
No, there's definitely some new names we're bringing up that we haven't really discussed. But yeah, coming in number 15, Atlanta Hawks. What direction would you see them going?
Yeah, at number 15, I have Atlanta taking Trey Mann, and this is a player I feel is just likely to be I feel around this range. Like I think for the most part, he had kind of a less than inspiring freshman year, and this offseason, like they started listing him at 6'5", and he came into college at like 6'2", 6'3", so he literally grew. And I think it made some really nice changes to his game. Was great in the pick and roll this year, and has always been just one of those players that has a really quick release, really good passer as well, some ball skills. Just another player that could stretch the floor and then do some good things on and off ball for Atlanta with Trae Young. And I think they're looking for I think to add to that guard core with the Hawks. They took a big man last draft. They're likely in the process of re-signing John Collins. They have Danilo Gallinari. They have that plethora of wing players. So yeah, I could see them taking a guard, and I like Trey Mann here.
Nice. Yeah, he shot like 40% this year on a pretty decent sample size too. And I think for Trae Young, yeah, it's just guys like he can spread the floor with, so he can like drive and kick out. 16, we have the Boston Celtics, a team that usually has a pretty good stockpile of picks, but this year not as many, just coming with the 1 pick in the first round as of this recording. Where do we see them going?
I took James Bouknight. He's a player I know who many have quite a bit higher, and he still has, I think, that range of possibly being the lottery, possibly being in the mid-first round. Really good athlete, just is a guy who could score in a number of different ways. Still struggled a bit as a shooter, but yeah, just had some really great flashes and moments. Really great at creating off of the dribble and getting to the basket. He has really good body control. So yeah, I could see Boston looking for maybe like that scoring punch as well. And they've done such a good job kind of working with guys on their shooting. So yeah, he's somebody I could just see Boston possibly wanting to add depth there as well.
Yeah, I think like they have an interesting backcourt in Boston too. So we don't know how much like Marcus Smart. It's not really true point guard. Kemba, So it'd be interesting to see like how they figure out that rotation, because hopefully Peyton Pritchard gets playing time as the years go by here, but obviously that might not necessarily be the case if you keep bringing in more guards.
Well, they do play different positions. Like I don't see James Bouknight really being a point guard at all. And yeah, while Peyton has been playing off ball quite a bit, yeah, I see them being at least slightly different there, Jace. So I don't think it would be like a tremendous worry for Peyton Pritchard's minutes.
You know, I just want him to get every minute he deserves. Don't want people coming in the way of that. But yeah, no, Boston's definitely a team that's got, you know, obviously not meeting expectations for this season, for how they felt. So definitely they need someone that's going to give them a little bit of a boost.
Told you not to have them that high, man.
You know, I did earlier. That was something that I did. I will admit that I was wrong. It would be the first and possibly last time, but yeah.
That's all good.
I'll predict.
I had them too high also.
And then coming in at number 17, we got Miami Heat. Still pretty hot firing team. Who do you see them taking off the board?
Yeah, I have them drafting Josh Giddey, who is playing for the Adelaide 76ers or
36ers.
Adelaide 36ers in the NBL in Australia. Yes, Josh Giddey is a player who it seems like is kind of a draft Twitter favorite at the very least. And I think he is another player I've heard possibly floating around the lottery. Done really well this year with the 36ers, getting a lot of playing time. He is a fantastic passer, and like at 6'9", he has lead guard skills and just a great feel for the game, great court sense, can put the ball on the floor. Is a guy who sees things happen like a couple plays ahead, and the shooting is a bit of a concern. He's done a lot better there over the last little while, but still not the best 3-point shooter and free throw shooter as well. His like athleticism, I think, is another thing that people will point out. He's not like the most fleet of foot, but he really knows how to play the game. He just has a tremendous skill set. His agent announced today that he measured in at 6'9" with shoes. I think he was right around there. Like he was, I think 6'7.5" or so at the NBA Global Academy games a couple years ago with like chalk wingspan, but that's still a fantastic size for a guard and even a wing. So yeah, Josh Giddey is somebody that I think is going to have a lot of teams quite interested in, just somebody who can be a great on-ball player and make some fantastic decisions. And if you have some shooters, he could really open the floor for you.
Also, one of the younger players in the draft. He's still 18, and he'll be 18 at the time of the draft, October birth date. And also, he's the first person since Ben Simmons, I think in 2013, to play for the senior national, like the youngest player since Ben Simmons to play for the senior national team for Australia. So bringing some good accolades there. Moving along, we got number 18. We got the New York Knicks, and obviously these are always the most important picks of the drafts because who are Knicks fans either going to very much love or very much hate?
Yeah, we never know.
So yeah, that's why it's a pivotal pick because there's a lot of stakes behind it. But yeah. The Knicks have another first round pick, so they have two chances to either get it right or get it very wrong. They go either hot or cold.
Yeah, I think with the Knicks, you'll see that a lot may depend on whose agent is the player has or something along those lines. But they did a really good job drafting Emmanuel quickly last year, even though that pick was universally panned. I felt, or I shouldn't say universally panned, but many felt it was a kind of an overdraft, and they've looked very wrong so far, us included. But yeah, I will say that a player that when I went on the Locked On Draft Pod with Rafael Barlow, that I talked about is really improving his stock is Davion Mitchell, and I have the Knicks taking him. I feel like most of their point guards are kind of like likely to be there for a pretty short period of time. So I could still see them looking for somebody there. Davion just has that blow by speed, really good defender. He really, really worked on his game and just improved a great deal as a shooter. What I will say is I'm still not completely sold on him being like this lottery pick that seems to be thrown around so far. I'm a little worried about the fact that first of all, his age. He is a little bit older, and he is also a 65.2% free throw shooter, which I don't think is the most positive indicator for his like rapidly improving shooting. But yeah, he had a fantastic year. The Donovan Mitchell comparisons are completely ridiculous, and because his last name is Mitchell and his first name is Davion, and they have 7 inches different in wingspan, but certainly was a great college basketball player, and I think has some real NBA skills, really improved as a playmaker, and as we saw, like, could do some really good things off of the dribble, and did shoot really well off of the bounce and off of the catch this year. So yeah, like I think teams are likely going to bank on that, bank on the work ethic and how much he's improved. But yeah, just a few factors I want to throw in is reasons why maybe I'm not as high on. I don't feel like Davion Mitchell is a guy who like played himself into like the top half of the lottery or anything like that.
Yeah, when we talked about it a little last week, it's hard to really take the tournament and be like, oh, now all of a sudden this person's at this level.
Yeah.
Whether they kind of were, but he's.
But he was great throughout the year too. He was. Yeah.
No, definitely, and like since he moved, he started at Auburn, but since he moved, to the Big 12 for his 2 seasons there, 2-time All Big 12, 2-time All Big 12 defense. He was Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. So definitely a lot of positive attributes there, but definitely like shooting becomes, very much a bit of a red flag, especially from a point guard. But do you think like there is any potential that there is some team that is going to reach at the lottery?
Oh, I think it's certainly possible. Yeah, like this is all subject to change.
No, of course, yeah.
I could see it. I could see it happening, and there's like a reason they have him. This is pretty high. Like 18 is a pretty high pick. So yeah, like he certainly has a pretty wide range right now. I feel like from I would say like 10 on. I'm guessing somewhere in the 10 to 20 range. I would guess right now.
Nice. Well, awesome. He played really super, super well in the tournament. Then coming up, number 19, Charlotte Hornets. They have LaMelo.
Yes.
Things can be happening now. Where do you think they go to kind of continue to build their core?
Yeah, I have them taking Usman Garuba. I think he would just be kind of an interesting big, and I know that they're still kind of looking for that center of the future. So maybe it's not Usman, but Usman, I think, is likely going to be like a small ball 5, and he's just really intriguing in terms of his defensive versatility. That's always been the biggest thing with him. He's about 6'8" with like a 7'2" wingspan, but just a terrific mobility as well. Offensively, that's where he's kind of stagnated. But the past couple of years, he's been playing bench minutes for Real Madrid, one of the best teams in the ACB, and obviously gaining some experience in the Euro League as well. But yeah, not like the most polished scorer. Basically, just gets a lot of like offensive rebound baskets, and would kind of be one of those guys in transition that you like. Also, real like good in the short roll as a passer as well. But yeah, Usman, I think is somebody who is still going to be at least intriguing due to the fact that he's been playing high level basketball for quite a while, and like in youth levels, he was fantastic. I think somebody that teams will likely be willing to bet on in like the mid to late first round.
And do you think he's do you think he would come straight over, or do you feel like this would be kind of a?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what his buyout situation is, but I'm guessing he would likely come over as soon as possible.
And yeah, 19, 19, so still super young. And as they always say, like ACB is that next league after the, under the NBA as far as the best leagues. And I feel like a lot of times the statistics can be a little confusing because some of the guys don't get a lot of playing time just due to like all sorts of, sometimes there's domestic league, rules and things like that. So it's like, I never judge it by like just looking at.
He actually plays for Spain though. So yeah, like I think he's been in Spain most of his life. So yeah, I don't think that necessarily applies to him, but it still just seems to be, kind of working on what he does best on offense.
Nice. Well, hopefully, yeah, he can come over and kind of continue to improve upon that. But yeah, he's the first European guy that we've had going so far. Giddy was the first international. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. We didn't have a lottery with any like true international players that like aren't part of NCAA.
Jonathan Kuminga.
But going to the G League, so he's not coming from like international places.
And well, Kai Jones is from Bahamas.
But again, going to Texas. Wagner, Franz Wagner is from Germany. But
let's split hairs. Why don't we?
I'm splitting anything I can at this point. Number 20, we got the San Antonio Spurs, a team that's in, kind of a transition period, kind of figuring out what their new identity is going to be moving forward. But they're a team that knows how to draft, has developed.
They have done quite well in draft.
They've developed a good amount of players.
Yeah. I liked who they drafted last year with Devin Vassell, and I know Trey Jones looked really good in the G League as well. I have them taking Alperen Şengün. He is from Besiktas. I hope I'm not butchering either of those names. I did try and look up his name to make sure I was pronouncing it correctly. But yeah, he has been just on an absolute tear this season in the Turkish Basketball League. And he, I believe, is averaging like in the neighborhood of like almost 20 and 10. And like 19.7, 9.1. Good passer as well. And like create some events on defense too. Is like been a good rim protector. Most of his work is like either as like a roll man or in the post. So he's kind of like a true center. He's 6'9" or 6'10" with like a 7 foot or so wingspan. So not like ideal size for an NBA center. He doesn't really do much from outside right now. But yeah, like he has some ball skills. He really knows how to play. And I certainly think like he's somebody that I've heard could be a possible lottery contention just because he's strong. He really knows how to play. And he's been putting up results in a really good league in Turkey this year.
Yeah, and he's 18. He'll be like what day's the draft is like the 26th. I think his birthday's like July
20th. I think the draft is July 29th.
Yeah, his birthday's July 25th. So he's right. He's gonna be like 19, but like right before. But he has already said that he is not down for being a draft and stash. He wants to go there and develop as soon as possible. So
yeah, I feel like he would be somebody that would come over. He's just wrecking the Turkish league right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid league. And you feel like he's like a true center, or is he going to be someone who's like a little 4-5 or?
Right, like he certainly plays like a true center. So yeah, I have a hard time believing that he is going to be playing much for. And I feel like in San Antonio, whoever drafts him likely has the vision of him playing quite a bit of center. And he's certainly like his skill set just works for the 5. And I'm guessing he has enough size and enough skill to at least be feasible being a 5 in the NBA.
Yeah, build around him and this new look San Antonio, because it's definitely going to be a very different team.
Not sure you're building around the 20th pick, but yeah.
No, but like as like throwing him into the core of like what San Antonio is gonna be. Yeah, like you don't obviously no one shoots to have the 20th pick to like rebuild a franchise. But number 21, we have the New York Knickerbockers again. This pick is coming to them from Dallas.
Yeah. And I still don't really know what their center situation is going to be. Mitchell Robinson has always been kind of viewed as the future there. And he still could be. But I just have them taking, and obviously the Knicks could trade the pick. Who knows? Like we're just giving a general idea of some possibilities here. But somebody who clearly has some of the strengths that Mitchell Robinson has is an Isaiah Jackson out of Kentucky, and just a fantastic athlete. He was measured, I believe, at like a 7'2.5" or so wingspan.
He's getting 2.5 blocks a game, so he's
he had some fantastic rim protection moments at Kentucky. That's what he strives on: blocking, rebounding, and he is a lob threat. I want to just say here, and I think I'm going to say this is the Viseland stance. Can we stop saying vertical lob threat? When we say lob threat, the vertical is implied. There's no horizontal lob threat.
But I mean,
it's a phrase that I feel is being used by, I don't want to attack any individual. It's being used by so many different people, and just say lob threat.
What about Taco Fall? That's pretty horizontal. I mean, there's not going up and getting it. Like it's pretty on a level.
No, he's but he's raising his arms vertically in the air. Let's be real. How many times has Taco scored an alley-oop? It's not happening.
Hey, this episode recorded April 6, 2021. He did take it to Joel tonight. He scored a basket against Joel Embiid.
But was it on an alley-oop?
It was not. It was
exactly.
It was very horizontally threatening to Joel, and he scored. Much love to Taco. He's one of his champs.
How much did Philadelphia win that game by?
Yeah, I think Joel's done all right for himself. Other than that,
true enough. But yeah, so he's a lob threat. He's also really good, like off the ball. He's a really good cutter. So yeah, like I just think with his athleticism, I've always kind of worried about him a bit, in terms of decision making, ball skills, like shooting, half court offense. But yeah, he's somebody who just obviously. Oh, and just in terms of strength as well, he's somebody that you obviously are hoping to get into NBA weight program. But yeah, so the athleticism has always been something that's really stood out with him. Just kind of explodes off the floor and has great instincts as a rim protector. So yeah, he's like another player with a pretty wide draft range, and you hear lottery rumblings with him. But I've said that about I guess 21 people up to this point.
Yeah.
No, it's somebody has to drop, and I would think if he was at 21, like that would be absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's still a lot of time between now and the draft. Now we're getting, now the college basketball is officially over. Now we're going to get kind of that more workouts, more agent kind of hypothesizing of guys. But yeah, think about Calipari is, Kentucky had a pretty whatever season, but he gets people and he gets them ready for the NBA. So that's what it's about, regardless of Kentucky record or not. So he's going to send some guys to the league regardless. Coming at number 22, we got the Portland Trailblazers saying, nah, we're good. We don't need any picks because we are already a perfect team. They're giving this one to the Houston Rockets. What direction are they going?
Well, they did get Robert Covington in return for this pick. So
no, so 1,000% worth it.
We'll see. We'll see. We still have time.
I like Rocco thus far.
But yeah, I have the Rockets taking Roko Prkačin from Sabona Zagreb. He would be the youngest player in the draft, and he's kind of like just somebody who does a little bit of everything. He is 6'9", Definitely can improve as a shooter, but seems to at least be showing some promise there. This year, he's a pretty good defender as well, like a pretty solid athlete. Yeah, just I would say kind of like a jack of all trades, not really like a master of none, I guess, to use that kind of colloquialism. But yeah, he is just somebody I think you could kind of build around and build on. Already has like a pretty good body considering his age. But yeah, he's born November 26, 2002. So he would be, I think, the youngest draftable player this year, or like the youngest player drafted likely that I've heard. And yeah, like a pretty good rebounder as well. So he is just somebody that I think teams are going to be sort of interested in, and also somebody that you're probably going to bring around pretty slowly, but could pay off some pretty major dividends if the shooting really works out.
Yeah, and do you think, again, like, do you think he would come over immediately, or do you think there's probably a chance of him sticking around
I
two?
Again, I feel like if he enters, he's likely trying to come over immediately. But yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah, I feel that's been the trend a little bit more lately too, of like them just being straight ready to come in and again develop, maybe go to the G League for a bit and kind of come back up. But coming in at number 23, we have a pick I am very excited about. We got the Denver Nuggets. Team that's been interesting. And what direction do we see them going in?
So I have Denver taking Oregon's Chris Duarte. As we know, Jason and I both went to University of Oregon, so we're quite familiar with this player.
Jerry West Award winner.
He was the Jerry West Award winner. He had a fantastic season for Oregon. He improved greatly as a shooter. Had shown like quite a bit of promise the year before, but just really improved in terms of efficiency and confidence. He's somebody that can attack closeouts as well. Just kind of one of those like 3-level scorers, really good. The defensive instincts to me are what really stand out about him. He has some good length, really plays the passing lanes well, has like these chase down blocks and just impressive rotations also. So yeah, he really improved as a passer too, which he had kind of done pretty well the year before also. Yeah, I felt like he was one of the best players in the NCAA this season. And I know his age is obviously a huge concern. He's going to be 24 at the time of the draft, as you hear every single game that he's ever played in college. But he is somebody that I feel like for the right team, and I think Denver could be the right team. Come in and give you some really good rotation minutes at the wing. So yeah, I like Chris Duarte as a possible first-round pick. Another player who probably has a wide range and will just have to have the right team kind of fall in love with him due to the concerns with his age. And yeah, but I feel like, yeah, this could definitely be a place where they have quite a bit of interest in him.
Yeah, this would be a great situation because yeah, it's a good team where you really probably come off the bench, give that energy because he does have defensive versatility. I mean, in college it's more like 1 through 4, probably in the NBA 1 through 3. Like yeah. He'd be guarding a 4 there, yeah. But
wings and guards, yeah.
Yeah, but he like when he came into Oregon, that was kind of his thing. It was like he can pretty much guard every position on the floor, in college, and then he improved his shot a lot. And wish him the best. I think, it's very exciting that he's a guy that was sort of on the radar, going into the season as far as more like second round or just like that would be a good thing for him. And then he's really just played his way into the first round, hopefully. So it's pretty cool to see him kind of
certainly a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, he could be a pretty good early contributor for a team in this range of the draft. Mm-hmm. So pulling for Chris, obviously first place on the big board of our hearts, but he will be 23rd in this mock draft. But yeah, had a great year, and the Ducks wouldn't have been the same without him. Like he was definitely someone that was pretty needed as was displayed, because didn't he sit out that Oregon State game Wasn't he out that?
No, that one I think
Oh, that
was
was
the
LJ.
one where or what?
I think he was
No,
out.
I think it was at Washington State, right?
Yeah, he's out like one game, and I just remember that being like, oh, like how are we going to get the ball across
It
the
was
court?
horrendous. Yeah.
Love Chris Duarte, and if you get a chance to, the Oregonian, they did an amazing article just kind of about his story too, coming from Dominican Republic, going to prep school, and just kind of what that situation and just culture change for him was like, and going to junior college and just making his way to where he is today. So hopefully that is in the NBA next year. Coming up at number 24, we got the Houston Rockets, again, a team that needs a lot of things.
Yes, they do.
And I feel like this player is probably the most fun mixtape I have seen in a little while.
Yeah, he is somebody who, again, like I think has a pretty wide draft range, some very legitimate concerns, but he is also like fantastic at a few things and like really rare. And that is Sharif Cooper out of Auburn. He was a freshman. He unfortunately had to deal with some NCAA bullshit early on. But
able to get 12 games in.
Yeah, and they were fantastic 12. And like he did definitely have his ups and downs there, and showed some of the major concerns, like the fact that he isn't like a fantastic outside shooter, had a really high turnover rate. He is small and didn't necessarily always play hard on defense. But the things that he did well, he did exceptionally well. He gets into the paint pretty much at will. He's so quick. He has a great handle. He's a fantastic passer, like maybe one of the best passers in the draft, if not the best. So yeah, he's just somebody who could break down a defense, and then his ability to get to the basket, get to the free throw line. He's not 6'1", like that he was listed at Auburn. He's likely not even the 180 pounds, or maybe 165, maybe. But he just does some things at an exceptional level. I know Houston obviously has John Wall, I think, for the next 2 years. But I think that he's certainly a talent that they could look at. And then, like, at this point of the draft, you're looking for somebody who could just give you that kick off the bench, and that may end up being his best role. Certainly, like, you're really hoping that the shooting works out with him. But and he was a good free throw shooter also, so that's at least somewhat positive. But yeah, the outside shot and like his shot off of the bounce and everything like that are still things that you kind of need to worry about. But yeah, as we say with Sharif, like, he was one of the most electrifying freshmen this year.
Super exciting.
I think he has a way to work himself into an NBA rotation.
Yeah, and just like off the bench tempo, but yeah, 20 points, 8 assists, and just fun. Like, he's definitely going to be like a fan, like wherever he gets,
very fun player.
He's going to be someone that like fans are going to love.
Yeah.
They're going to like
he may struggle with defense, but you're definitely going to struggle guarding him as well.
Yeah, like odds are, game 7 and in the half court, he might not be out there in the last 2 minutes, but at those periods of the games that he does play, it's going to be.
He could give you a real kick. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's going to be, and then hopefully again just growing and maturing. But I think coming into backing up John Wall will be pretty good opportunity there. Coming up at number 25, we have a team that is, their record is not what it should be due to some injuries, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers coming at number 25. Higher pick than what LeBron's accustomed to dealing with. Usually he's in that 30 to 29 range. It's usually more LeBron's.
Yeah, it depends. Like, extenuating circumstances, obviously. Yeah. When you don't have your 2 best players, then they could be in this range. I have the Lakers taking somebody who I just think could be like one of those secondary playmaker types, and that's Jared Butler, who was, of course, one of the best players in college basketball. He is a fantastic ball handler. He can create for himself and others. He was much better at creating for others this year. Felt he was a greatly improved passer. And then he was just good at kind of creating those passes to the basket, but also like fantastic shooting. And then the thing he did really, really well this year was shooting off the catch. And when you're playing with the Lakers, playing with LeBron James, LeBron always needs these guys to catch and shoot. That's what they just got Ben McLemore for. So yeah, Jared Butler is somebody who I feel still, I don't know. I'm kind of like a little surprised at people that feel there's like a huge range between Butler and Davion Mitchell. And I'm still kind of like maybe team Jared Butler. But yeah, I feel like they're certainly close as prospects. Like I think Butler's a pretty good defender as well. Definitely not the same kind of like explosive blow-by athlete, but he does a lot of things really well. And yeah, like there was a reason he was a unanimous first-team All-American this year.
And tournament player of the year. But yeah, like the thing is like you can, kind of be in his situation of like not being a true point guard. And playing, with someone like LeBron, because yeah, again, it's just like spread the court. LeBron's gonna have the ball in his hands, be ready to hit those shots, and they always, LeBron and his teams, they always kind of bring like a good rotation of just kind of like random role players. Like right now, you have Caruso every once in a while, Taylor Horton-Tucker. So, opportunities can definitely be there.
One last thing with Jared Butler is he's a year younger than Davion Mitchell as well. Well, he didn't have to sit out the year. Like he was able to transfer.
Yeah, Davion had to sit out because of his transfer, but they were both juniors and both led, a very stout and solid backcourt.
One of the best college backcourts in a while, like just in terms of individual success and team success.
Yeah. And then number 26, we are staying in Los Angeles. Across the hallway, the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah. I guess they'll move into their own place soon enough. But yeah, I have them taking Josh Christopher. It was kind of, obviously Arizona State, the year itself was just kind of a bummer. But yeah, I still think that Josh Christopher is somebody that NBA teams at least kind of like. He's somebody with like even in high school who had this like already like NBA ready body. So like he's physically ready for the NBA just in terms of like decision making, things like that. He still needs some work. You still really hope that the shooting all comes together. But what he does really well is he can create a bit off the bounce. And he is fantastic, just like in a kind of like run and gun situation, really good in transition. I think a guy who's going to be a bucket getter. And I think he has some defensive potential as well. Like he just throughout high school was always like this fantastic scorer. And I just seem to do well like in EYBL competition. Whenever USA basketball played, he was fantastic there also. So yeah, I still feel like Josh Christopher is somebody who's going to get some first round looks and is somebody that could be that nice scoring kick off of the bench.
Yeah, and the Clippers, and I think, not having Lou Will anymore. So yeah, definitely need to keep establishing that identity. There, number 27, we got the 76ers.
76ers, I have them taking another like kind of rangy athlete in Greg Brown III. To me, he still has like a pretty enormous draft range as well. I just I wasn't blown away with him as a college player this year. I just like his role just seemed to be like, for as much as people talk about his, like he is an absurd vertical athlete. And when we did the slam dunk special, I said he would be my favorite in an NBA slam dunk competition. I just think he's a great competition dunker. it seems like in games, he wasn't necessarily doing those same things, wasn't necessarily using his athleticism as functionally as you might have hoped. But he does use it in a couple ways. He had a great rebound rate, a great block rate. I think he was like a legitimately good defender at times. And then the other thing was just he did take a ton of 3-pointers, shot them at 33%. So like he did indeed show a few things. I just think in terms of like his ball skills and passing, we mentioned the assist to turnover disparity there is rather enormous.
2.5 turnovers a game with less than 1 assist, like
yeah,
4 assists a game. So yeah, that's a little concerning.
Yeah, and also like the strange thing, and I am not taking this as like a character thing at all, but there was a weird thing at the end of the year where Shaka Smart like kind of stopped playing him. And I'm sure teams are going to ask about that. It still may not really like I didn't really take this as something that affects his draft stock very much. But yeah, I feel like he might be in this late first round range. And you just kind of wonder what he exactly does offensively. If he can shoot in the NBA at 33% and play good defense, that's still a pretty good 4-man. But yeah, like he's not necessarily like the strongest guy. There was like a weird thing where like he like missed a ton of dunks, which is very strange. And like it was obviously like a kind of a weird situation playing with like guys like Jericho Sims and Kai Jones, both of whom had like I think 3 to 4 times as many dunks as Greg Brown did this year. So yeah, I feel like few amazing flashes of his athleticism don't necessarily tell the entire story of how functional it is. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, but I do still feel like he's a likely first round prospect. But I think there could be a range and there could be a chance that he falls out of the first round altogether.
And yeah, he had high momentum earlier in the year as far as draft stock kind of went, but then yeah, Kai Jones kind of overtook him as a prospect. So we will see how he tests, but I'm sure he's gonna, at least in the vertical department, he's gonna probably test pretty well. So it'll be pretty interesting to see if people like the potential there athletically. Coming in at number 28, we got the Brooklyn Nets.
The Brooklyn Nets.
Steve Nash is getting to make a draft pick.
Yeah, and I have them taking somebody that I think can play a little bit of point guard, but is probably best next to a primary initiator. Somebody who brings a little defensive versatility, and that is Miles Deuce McBride out of West Virginia. I thought he certainly improved his confidence as a shooter this year. He is a fantastic transition defender. I believe he has a 6'8" wingspan. He's about 6'2" or so. And he is somebody that I think just immediately does some really good things at the point of attack. And like the Nets, if there's one thing they do need to worry a little bit about, it is the defensive end. And while most of that does start in the interior, it certainly helps up front as well. And Miles McBride could be somebody off the bench who does some really good things there. You worry about him a little bit in terms of decision making, and you wonder how real the shooting is. But yeah, he is somebody that I think is going to get like late first round looks, and is like one of those players who could potentially be a really impactful first line of defense player and bring some things on offense as well with his shooting and just that. I think he's a really good athlete also.
Definitely took a big leap between obviously freshman and sophomore year at West Virginia there. So should be interesting to see what direction Brooklyn goes, because it'll be interesting to see who they bring back or who they keep. I mean, they're going to be so like kind of cap tied in some situations by just having all these, high profile guys. So obviously the draft is kind of important for them building their bench out.
Oh, definitely.
And then coming in at number 29, we have a team that is barely missed the playoffs last year. They went undefeated in the bubble. They actually carried that. They paid that momentum. They carried it forward. Obviously, they make a trade for Chris Paul. We got the Phoenix Suns coming in at number 29.
Yeah. And I have Phoenix taking Jeremiah Robinson Earl. He's somebody that I know for the most part people have slipping to the second round. I still feel like he could be somebody that Phoenix really likes, and I know they're kind of looking for that like four-man of the future. Not sure it's JRE, but I'm guessing he can provide at least a few good things. Obviously, he's somebody that can stretch the floor a little bit. Great passer. I just have always liked just his acumen on both ends of the floor. I think he has some legitimate ball skills. Does some really nice things at 6'9", and then I've always liked his defensive instincts, and I just see him being like that smart player who could potentially be like a role guy, and he's one of my like late round kind of favorites. If you're finding him in the second round, I think he could be quite a good flyer. And we know that Phoenix has gone with somebody that they really liked these past few years, and I could see him being a possibility with that.
Yeah, I think it's a good energy match for like what Phoenix might need off the bench.
Yeah.
As far as that kind of skill set. So yeah, like they're having a good year, and it'll be interesting to see, if they keep that going next year. And then the team picking number 30 is having a really great year. And like they were good last year. They're always, been pretty consistently good. But right now, Utah Jazz are clicking at a very, very high level, leading the Western Conference by, I think they're up like 3 games right now as far as first place is concerned, maybe a little bit more. They've been pretty awesome. So closing out the first round, who's that last guy coming home with a guaranteed contract?
I have the Utah Jazz, who are 2.5 games up on Phoenix. I have them taking Brandon Boston Jr., BJ Boston, out of Kentucky. I think that BJ Boston is another player who just will have that crazy wide draft range, was considered a possible lottery pick. Some people felt he might go even as high as number 2 to begin the year, had done some really great things in the EYBL, playing with Sharif Cooper for AOT. Just is one of those like 6'7" guys with close to a 7-foot wingspan. Maybe 6'7", 6'6", let's say. But yeah, he definitely lacked functional strength, wasn't quite the passer you thought, wasn't quite the defender you thought, but he has that ball handling ability. He has some of the body control as a finisher. I don't think the shooting is necessarily like something that was going to stay as bad as the like minimal sample size he had in Kentucky showed. But he's somebody that if you kind of build with him, he has this skill set, and this like even like the like glimmers of functional athleticism and scoring ability that I think could make him a really nice player. So yeah, like you kind of wonder why Ziaire Williams hasn't necessarily been hit as much as BJ Boston, and maybe it was because like they kind of gave Ziaire more of a pass because of his injuries and things along those lines. But yeah, I still think Brandon Boston is somebody that teams should really pay attention to. I'm sure he's still on the radar for like being quite a bit higher than this as well. But
Number 4 in the RSCI, so coming out of high school. So obviously there's some people that have thought super highly of him, but yeah, I think like strength, shooting, like those are kind of the concerns there, but definitely probably worth a good look, especially for a team like Utah that's not really looking to fill a hole, just looking to have another player on their roster. But as far as the first round goes, that's 30 guys. Boom. still some decent value out there in the second round, just taking, an early kind of scan at it as far as, guys that still are on the board. I mean, Ayo Dosunmu, he has got, he signed with an agent, so he's gone. You could have even, I don't know, like Drew Timmy was pretty solid. I think the way he was playing in the tournament, if he decides to come out.
Yeah, I seriously thought about putting Joel Ayayi in there as well. He's somebody that I think could get some end of first round looks. A player that I really like, and I'm still not sure what he's doing, which is why I left him out, is Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona. He is originally from Montreal, but he had a really great freshman year. Shows some fantastic shooting indicators, finished really well around the basket. So yeah, he would be somebody that I would look for at the end of or possibly even like mid end of the first round. And yeah, like I know obviously like Cam Thomas is seen as somebody that is going to give you instant offense, and is it like a bigger guard who you could maybe work on some of the other things with. If you go to rookiescale.com, which is was started by a friend of the program, John Chepkevich, he has some fantastic draft resources. He has an early entry board, a great interview he did with Josh Giddey, and then the really cool thing is he has his consensus big board for everybody to see. He updates it daily. So yeah, I want to shout out John for starting rookiescale.com. It should be just a fantastic draft resource. And of course, shout out to Perspective Insight. We're doing a lot of great things there. Anish Namburi just had a Jalen Green profile that went up on Perspective Insight Pulse. And a lot of great interviews have come out lately. Recently one with Davion Mitchell, and who's a 2022 prospect, and Caden Perry, who was a Nike Hoop Summit USA selection and will be playing for Gonzaga next year. So yeah, just a couple things that I wanted to shout out there. And yeah, as far as like other players that are pretty high on John's big board that I thought about, Terrence Shannon Jr., who is an intriguing wing from Texas Tech, Daron Sharp, who I think is likely gone from North Carolina. I think he announced he was entering the draft, and is an intriguing center prospect because of his passing and David Johnson is another player that I think could possibly get some looks, and Marcus Bagley obviously just
Marcus Bagley's been
on
it.
Yeah, a lot of players announcing, a lot of draft things happening, and we are going to try and stay as up to date as possible. And I am sure that there will be numerous changes on our next mock draft. But yeah, we just wanted to keep you up to date and give you this new mock draft. We hope that you liked the lottery. We hope that you like 15 through 30. We hope that you learned a little bit about some of these players. And you enjoy these breakdowns. So yeah, if you could leave a like, a comment, subscribe. We're really happy with our new subscribers, and just the response to our videos and our podcasts. So also please review. That really helps us a lot. That just gets us in front of more eyes and ears. So yeah, that would just be a huge thing for us. So lastly, Jason, what do you think of One Shining Moment? I know that's your moment of the tournament for you.
So for me, One Shining Moment usually is my one shining moment of the tournament. I really enjoy that piece, but this year was rather disappointing.
I think it was just a lack of fans, man.
Yeah, maybe that
the fan reaction I think is so huge. I think that's really what was missing. They had Oscar Freire, who had that tragic accident in Grand Canyon, and some like the great highlight shots and plays.
Well, they had that Evan Mobley dunk on Frank Kepner from Oregon, which I thought was in very poor taste because that was a very disrespectful dunk. Frank didn't know that he was going to go up like that. Like the
Jalen Suggs shot, I think, is that was the moment of the tournament.
I feel like
I feel like that outshined the Evan Mobley dunk.
Because that was a pretty Evan Mobley dunk was huge. That was a pretty nasty dunk. Yeah, I thought Suggs, because that combination of like that Juzang like missing, getting the rebound, like getting it, and you're like, oh hell yeah, UCLA is gonna take it to double overtime, and then Jalen Suggs just
the emotion of Jalen Suggs in those games, man. He's somebody that wears his heart on his sleeve.
Hopefully next year we can see a much better one shining moment.
But fans in the stands.
You know what I did like this year though that they did do is they did like a one shining moment montage of like the best one shining moment clips of like 30 years. So it's like one version, but it had like clips from like a bunch of different years. They randomly like they randomly jumped around a little. Like it had like a little Texas Western, but it had a lot of like the good, kind of clips you've seen from like the 90s, 2000s. So yeah.
Did it have so it was only the last 3 years? They just made sure it wasn't during Oregon's championship run? Is that
no video footage of the tall furs on that one, but
man. So for those that don't know, I just want to throw this out there. The tall furs were like 6'8" and like a couple 6'4" guys.
Yeah.
And that was what was considered tall back then.
One of them actually in my days at University of Oregon, in my season ticket, I was a couple rows behind Admiral John Dick, who was one of the leaders of the team in 1939. And then he sat in front of me at a track meet. And that was like not the coolest because he
lived up to his name, right?
Yeah.
He was a tall fur.
He was a tall fur. He was like
a tall fur for Jason Weisenberg.
Yeah, it's all like looking around. I'm like, oh, I can't see anything, but like
damn tall fur.
But yeah, I feel like my favorite thing about that championship is it's very easy to find in the history book. You don't have to look too far. You just go straight to the top.
They housed people to get there, by the way. It was only 3 games, but 3 housings.
Yeah. No, it was a solid, but yeah, no footage from that era. But yeah, it was like, they had they threw in like the Magic Bird moment, and like they threw in a couple mostly
that's 30 years, that's way more than 30 years ago.
Years a little bit, but those were only the 2 moments they threw in
Oh, okay.
Like Texas West.
Oh, it's 30 years and the good shit.
Yeah, and a couple because I don't even think there's any Lou Alcindor, Kareem or Bill Walton UCLA stuff. It was just Texas Western, Bird Magic, and then the clips you've seen from
Yeah, why the cool Pac-12 stuff when you can just do Bird Magic?
That's very true. Well, there is going to be a show actually on that we'll probably discuss closer to time. But yeah, HBO is doing a 1980s Lakers show.
I saw, and John C. Reilly is tall as hell. I don't know if Jerry Buss was 6'5", but I think John C. is somewhere in that neighborhood. And it will be weird if Jerry Buss is taller than Magic Johnson. I'm just hoping they do something.
Well, it's a former Cal center is playing Kareem.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so because that's the hardest part of casting a show like that, because it's you think a general Hollywood.
How tall is Bo Burnham, man? He's pretty tall, right?
I've seen him at the Improv. Yeah, he's 6'6". He's legitimate.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah,
tall enough for Larry Bird, but generally the average actor is usually between about 5'4" to 5'7" range. Usually.
Not for this series.
So
this
is
series.
It's you're how are you gonna get a Magic Johnson and a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. I'll definitely tune in.
Yeah. We will keep you up to date as we get closer to that. Also,
Space Jam, is it New Legacy or
Space Jam New Legacy trailer also came out, and that is I'm just happy. I'm happy it's on
Legacy.
I'm happy it's on HBO Max, so I don't have to go to a theater to see it. I can watch it at home. But you know what?
For your kiddo,
they featured Dame in the trailer, so I was cool with that. I
missed it.
No, it's because he's on the Goon Squad, which I was a little sad about because I thought he was going to be
okay.
But it's Anthony Davis, Dame, Klay Thompson.
Isn't Diana
Taurasi, and then I forget who else. Maybe it's not Kawhi. I don't know who the other one was, but that's the thing. But you know what?
Yeah, okay. So they're like robots.
And it's been 50.
Okay.
It's been like 15 years in the making for this movie, so happy it's finally coming
Someone's
somewhere.
gotta get it up.
Well, it's funny because I think Nike already sold a bunch of the stuff for it, like when it was supposed to come out like a year ago. So they already, yeah. So
It'll be fun.
You find some merch, yeah. Totally.
Bring back some memories, some new content for kiddos. Yeah, but obviously we dragged on here and just talked about some cool basketball.
That's the culture of the game, and also very, very important part. But yeah, college is behind us, but we got draft and we got the transfer portal is going to go crazy.
Oh, man.
That's going to really reshape what college basketball teams are going to look like next year. So obviously more to come on that, plus late signing period coming up soon as well for college basketball. But yeah, NBA playoffs are further than they normally would be, because usually like this time of the year we're like right there, but they're coming up pretty soon enough. So a lot more action to come as well. But thank you guys so much again for checking us out, subscribing, like, review. If you want to follow us both, you're like, hey, I love this 2-in-1 shot, at Viseland on Twitter. You could also email us at viselandpod@gmail.com. If you want to follow me specifically, I'm at Jay Weisenberg, anywhere you can get a social media. If you want to follow this man, Michael Weisenberg, on Twitter, that's at NBA Draft Mikey V. Give him a follow, because again, a lot of content we're putting out here, and we hope you guys enjoy it, and we will see you all next week. Take care.